Nate Diaz shoots down the idea of an immediate rematch with Jorge Masvidal, but he does name two fighters he is interested in fighting with. Last weekend, Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal went to war for the second time. It was 5 years after their MMA showdown, which was won by Masvidal. This time, however, it was in the boxing ring, and it was Diaz who managed to get his hand raised in victory. As you can probably imagine, the King of Stockton immediately started looking ahead at what's next. He's had an incredible career up to this point, but something tells us he's far from done. Former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman no longer considers Nate Diaz a top threat or even a world-class fighter in today's MMA landscape.
But for Nate Diaz, you have him versus, maybe he does a trilogy with George Masvidal. You know, he called out Leon Edwards for the strap at 170 pounds. You don't think Dana would give it to him? And then obviously he's got that big money fight.
Wait, what?
You don't think Dana would give him that fight? But remember, dude, like the UFC is an entertainment company, and if he's able to bring those pay-per-view numbers, and especially if a guy like Leon Edwards calls for the fight, he could potentially get it. But not just that, but check this out too, Kush. He's got a $15 million payday if he fights Jake Paul next, and that's guaranteed. That's not even guaranteed pay-per-view. Just imagine with the pay-per-view, $15 million guaranteed plus pay-per-view. The dude could wind up, if he fights a guy like Jake Paul, making anywhere between 20 to 25 million.
All right, let's get serious here. Henry. What? You think, oh, yes, I want to fight Leon Edwards, and he just jumps in and he gets a title shot? Are you serious? Come on, Henry. Henry, you are two-division champion. You are two-division champion, and you came back and you fought Marab.
Yeah, of course.
So basically you had to earn the shot at Sean O'Malley. So you're saying that he should just definitely come in and get it? You should just definitely come in because he has numbers?
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is he could. And yes, I mean, you know what? I don't think so. I am saying that. I am saying that because you know what? Because you know what? Leon Edwards could call his shot. Remember, we were both.
Leon cannot call his damn shot. Leon has a line. He can't call his shot.
At one point, Kush, we do have the right to be like, I'm not ready. You know what? I want Nate Diaz, or I'm just gonna hold off for a year. This is what Leon Edwards.
And guess what? Take your belt for a year.
And check this out. Too, Kush. They fought once before, and Nate Diaz in that 5th round hurt him. If there's 1 or 2 more minutes in that clock, who knows? Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards.
Nate landed a punch. Yes, of course. Nate landed a sneaky punch. He did. He did. Hurt. He landed a sneaky punch. After Leon beat the dog crap out of him for 4.5 rounds. But listen, at the end of the day, he landed it. It was an incredible punch. But that does not warrant him all because of that. He had one moment in the fight. We're going to give him a title shot just because he decided get it serious, bro. You smoked today.
We're gonna
Did
go
you
back.
Smoke today?
We're gonna. I probably should. You know.
I think you have. Cause you're crazy. First of all, Leon is not sitting there. Oh, I want Nate Diaz. First of all, no, Leon. Why wouldn't you? But
why wouldn't you though, Kush?
Why wouldn't you? Because Nate Diaz is not even in the UFC.
The biggest money fight and the easiest fight for him stylistically as well. And yeah, did he beat him up for those 5 rounds? 100%. But he did get rattled. Then guess what? Nate Diaz does a really good job of marketing. I'm telling you, this guy is independent. He can do a 3-fight contract with the UFC. I personally think Dana could go that route.
Nate Diaz is on completely tail end of his career. Yes, of course, he's made a great name for himself, and big shout out to Nate Diaz for still having, that notoriety to be able to go out there and, still get paychecks like this because he's getting all these good fights on the outside. But come on, to say Nate Diaz is going to come back in and walk into fighting world-class mixed martial arts fighters right now in the UFC, come on, that's absurd. That's crazy.
So are you saying Nate Diaz ain't a world-class fighter?
No.
That's what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. No, he was. He was. And don't get me wrong. Shout out to Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is still, he can still, fight.
He's dangerous, bro. He's dangerous.
But he's not a world-class fighter. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Throw Nate Diaz in there with Shavkat Ramanov. Throw Nate Diaz in there with myself. Throw Nate Diaz in there with JDM.
Okay, so am I hearing a
Throw
call
Nate
out?
Diaz in there with Justin Gaethje. Come on.
So that being said, what's next for Nate Diaz? If you're in Nate Diaz's position, what's next for him? And
Nate Diaz, PFL, and Jake Paul offer you $15 million to go into MMA and fight him in MMA. I'm taking that Nate Diaz. That, I think he actually wins that fight like that. Yeah. Shout out to Nate Diaz. I think he actually wins a fight like that.
You think at MMA, you think he beats Jake Paul in MMA?
I think so.
Ahead of their highly anticipated clash at UFC 305 next month, the feud between middleweight champion Dricus Du Plessis and former middleweight king Israel Adesanya is certainly heating up nicely as DDP takes aim at his opponent's decision to return to the sport. Last week, the pair had a tense face-off at the UFC 305 pre-fight press conference, with DDP claiming victory as he met Adesanya's eye level in the stare-down, noting that the last style bender was shorter than he expected. Speaking after the event via the Hello Sport YouTube channel, DDP once again argued that Adesanya secretly wants no part in fighting for world championship glory following his recent layoff.
Israel Adesanya, and he knows it and the world knows it, he has done great things in the sport, but you know, when it comes to as big as he's going to get, has been as big as he's going to get in the sport. And when it comes to the title defenses, the winning streaks, that will never come again because he doesn't have the time. So I think his biggest achievement for him personally was beating Alex Pereira. Now, he had this nemesis who's beaten him multiple times, and after that fight, he was ready to call it quits. And that's what I saw in his eyes as well. You know, trying to convince me, but more so trying to convince himself that he still wants to do this and that he still has what it takes to be the best fighter in the world. And as soon as you're asking yourself that question, you're in a dark place.
Following Adesanya's shock loss to Sean Strickland at UFC 293, the former middleweight champion would opt to take some well-deserved time away from the sport for rest and recovery. Interesting, Du Plessis believes that taking such a break from MMA is a necessary evil when it comes to maintaining your own physical health. The time away can also take a significant toll on your mental fortitude.
Yeah, the time off is not that concerning. When I had my debut fight in the UFC, it was during COVID and South Africa was locked down pretty bad. So I had my debut fight and then I wasn't allowed to leave the country or get a visa for any other country for 10 months. They had another fight and we were locked down again for another whole year. So I had my first fight, I had to take off 10 months from fighting. I had my second fight and didn't fight for a whole year. So the time off is not necessarily the problem. You know, it can be good, it can be bad, depending on how you approach it. But it's getting back into it. The mental aspect of that is much more important than the physical aspect. You know, sometimes a break like that, physically, you know, we put our bodies through the worst situations, and a little bit of rest is good. But when you get tired of resting, that's when you know you still got it. When you're not getting, when you don't get tired of that rest period,
that's where
when you get that comfortability,
I
I think that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah,
I think that's it. And now, you know, I keep a close eye, and him saying he's at peace. You know, his family is sorted. He has his properties. He has financially, he's going to be fine. His kids are going to be fine. His parents, everybody, his family is fine. That's amazing. And he said it, you know, he's done it all, he's won all the belts, he has a few belts. And when you get to that position where you are so comfortable, where he said he's at peace, he's happy with what he has, it's a dangerous place to be at, because this sport is chaos, and chaos is the exact opposite of peace.
Yeah.
And if you're at peace and you get into the octagon with me, it's going to be a problem.
In a new interview, Adesanya says that the break was essential to regaining focus on what he wanted to do in this final phase of his fight career.
Yes, the hiatus was definitely needed because, again, I was and still the most active champion in UFC history. Yeah, so for me, that was, I think, 4 fights in the span of a year, or 3 fights in a year and some change, whatever it is. But yeah, the hiatus was definitely needed because physically, mentally, Even spiritually, I just needed a break from not just the fights, but from the training camps and the constant, rigmarole we put our bodies through as warriors. So it was good for me to just unplug from the game. Only thing I could ever did to tap in the game is watch certain pay-per-views or the pay-per-views and my YouTube. Or any kind of MMA news and stuff, I always heard like secondhand, because I just removed myself from the game completely, or as much as I could, so I could just enjoy life. And yeah, I've learned a lot in the time I've been away. I'm a lot more, I've always been a patient guy, if you've actually paid attention to what I'm doing. But I've got more patience now, more clarity, and yeah, I'm sure of what I want to achieve in this last chapter of my game.
You mentioned the sort of last chapter of your game and the legacy. It's always about an athlete's legacy. What would it mean to you to regain that title? Because you're still very much in that conversation of one of the greatest ever middleweights in the UFC.
Yeah, for me, I'm the 2-time UFC middleweight champion. To make it 3 times, that would be nice, but it's not really the main goal. For me, it's about beating warriors from different codes, different nations, like great fighters like Dricus is, take them out, put them on my record, and move on to the next one until I'm done. That's what it's about. The belt was never it was always like, yeah, definitely be a UFC champ, but to get there was more the journey. I was just enjoying beating people up. So again, I'm back there. I'm just gonna enjoy beating people up, and the belt will come, and it'll stay. And eventually, I'll let it go.
Now let's take a look at the top 3 comments left on yesterday's video. At Helder Fonseca says, the UFC sells its soul to the devil and to every other demons. At Mushroom Guy says, Jamal Hill, I deserve a title shot rematch because I hit him in the junk and still got murked. Sounds about right. And Just Another Asian Guy says, the background music is too loud, lol. That's the best comment and has nothing to do with MMA, lol. At least you apologize to him, lol. That's cool. Just Another Asian Guy, you hurt my feelings, man. If you want your comments highlighted on tomorrow's video, simply comment down below. We'll highlight the top best comments, good, bad, or indifferent, and feature them in tomorrow's video. And that does it for today's video, but make sure you're liking this video, subscribing to this channel, and clicking the bell notification so you can get notified every time we drop a new video. And in case you missed it, check out yesterday's news.